Locked On Falcons POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, your team every day.
Welcome back, guys, to Locked On Falcons POSTCAST. Myself, the host of Locked On Falcons, Aaron Freeman, joined by Jarvis Davis of Locked On Sports Atlanta. It was a wild one for the Falcons. Get their win 37-34 in overtime against the Carolina Panthers, taking sole possession of first place in the NFC South. And this game kind of embodied the NFC South. Just a whole bunch of teams that couldn't do quite enough, but the Falcons were able to get the victory finally with a walk-off game winner from Younghoe Koo in overtime. But it seemed like both teams were doing their best to not win this game. And let's start with the blown 62-yard touchdown in the final minute of the game from the Falcons defense to DJ Moore. Just looked like one of the worst ways to end regulation. Fortunately, he got the penalty and pushed back the point after touchdown, and the kicker missed the extra point that sent it into overtime. Then, of course, he misses what could be the game winner about 5 minutes into over. It's crazy stuff happening, guys. Hard to
right. Man, look, like, where do I start? Like you think about, giving up that touchdown at the end of the game. And one thing that I noticed, and I think the Falcons probably knew this coming into this game, is the fact that PJ Walker, when he moves around the pocket, he's not trying to run with the football. He's not. I know people may look at him and, he's a black quarterback. Oh, yeah, he's going to take off and run with it. No, absolutely not. So as soon as he got out of the pocket in that play, I was like, yep, he's looking downfield, and he did it the entire football game, and he was able to be somewhat successful doing it. But when you think about in that situation where I know Dean P said for a fact, with him being down on the sideline, he's like, guys, don't let him get behind you. And that's exactly what happened. And when you think about that type of stuff happening at the game, you almost look at it from the standpoint of like, you know what? Probably deserve to lose this game. But like you said, given the landscape of the NFC South and how things are going and how things are going to be just going through the rest of this season in this division, it was typical, man. Like, he takes his helmet off, gets the penalty, the kicker mixes the extra point, and then you just like, all right, okay, here we go. This game might end up in a tie. I literally said that to myself, Aaron. I promise you I did. I promise you I did.
Man, it's crazy because, like, okay, fourth quarter, Falcons go down the field. We're sitting here going like, hey, Mariota didn't cost him the game. Like, he went out there, led a field goal drive at the end. It was like, okay, well, if the Falcons lose today, it ain't going to be on Marcus Mariota. There's only 36 seconds left. And, the Falcons defense gives up that big play. Obviously, as we said, it goes into overtime. Then the Falcons get the kick, and you're like, okay, like, just get down the field, do whatever you got to do, Falcons. You can run the football. You don't have to feel pressure. Mariota throws an interception on the deep ball. And
it's a 54-yard return. Forget making a tackle. Just, man, it is what it is, bro. If y'all score, y'all score.
And then it's like, okay, well, now we're going to hear it from Mariota. And then again, of course, the Panthers missed the field goal.
It's going to be trending at the end of this game.
And it's crazy because, like, the Falcons' special teams did not play well today.
They didn't.
Then the Panthers just basically were like, okay, we're just going to their special team just basically decided they were just completely tank this game. And of course, Younghoe Koo with Matt Bryant in the house, Todd McClure getting inducted into the ring honor at halftime, using that Matt Bryant magic to kick that Younghoe Koo game-winning field goal. So, yeah, man, I what else is there? Like, what else can you say about this game, Jarvis?
Like, I think that one of the things that I want to point out is that the fact that Cornell Armstrong, man, I think his play, even though he gave up some plays throughout this game and he gave up plays against guys he's supposed to give up plays against, DJ Moore, yeah, like a practice squad corner, DJ Moore being the practice squad corner, yeah, it's supposed to happen. I get it. But I think that we saw a little growth from him on the side because they were trying. Like Terrence Marshall, yeah, I might not be able to guard DJ Moore, but I can guard Terrence Marshall. So because anytime that Armstrong was in man-to-man coverage, they were targeting him. They were throwing him the football. They were throwing his way. So I think for him to be able to come out on the other side of it on a winning team, I think you got to be at least thankful that hey, like you stood in there, because a lot of times when guys start getting beaten in the NFL, dude, that thing gets ugly, and a lot of cats just lose confidence, and then it's almost at the point to where you got to find a substitute. But nah, the dude stayed in there and kept fighting.
Yeah, that's the story of this game for the Falcons. Kyle Pitts was not quiet today at 5 catches, 80 yards, a touchdown. Demir Bird had a big catch late to set up that what was that final score. One of the I can't remember. It's so much happened in the last few minutes. I don't remember exactly how it went. But he
So
had a
much
big,
time back.
yeah. Algier scored on a check down. It was nice to see Marcus Mariota checking the ball down today. Like, man, like when you look at the stat, it's crazy when you look at the stats and like how few catches the Falcons running backs have, because basically like Mariota either is pushing the ball down the field, running the ball, or getting sacked pretty much every time he drops back to throw. And they did a number of checkdowns. Kyle Pitts had a big game on the check down. So it was nice to see the check down as part of the Falcons offense so that they could get yards even when the sort of design of the play was not there.
I think that was the changing, that was kind of like a shift in the game, right? When you saw him starting to do those things, because there was a lot of quick passes, a lot of quick throws. They were trying to spread Carolina out and run the football, not necessarily in 12 personnel where we used to seeing those guys in. It was a lot of 11 personnel. Like, okay, we know that we're going to have a test in the middle, and I'll get into that in just a second. But so I think you saw the adjustments made, from Mariota and Arthur Smith as well, because you have to have that safety valve in there, because trying to throw the football down the field, given what you were able to you up against on the interior offensive line, you had to have that in there. It's good to see that Marcus Mariota was able to take advantage of it. But man, look, man, like I understand Derrick Brown is good, but man, I think the man ended up with like 11 tackles, dude. Drew Dalman had a test on his head today. Like, I don't know if he passed it. I'll probably take a look at it later on in the week. You can talk about, figure out what I came up with on ATL Day Ones this week. But yeah, man, the Falcons were in it for a dogfight. And I think Drew Dalman was right there, like, to attest to it. I'm sure he's in the locker room right now in the post game. In the locker room, he's about to hit the showers right now, because that dude is tired, boss.
Yeah. Derrick Brown had 12 tackles, did not lead the Panthers in tackles.
My bad, Derrick.
But yeah, that was going to be one of the key matchups. Keeping Brian Burns in check was going to be one of the key matchups. And I feel like the Falcons, for the most part, were able to do the second one, not necessarily the first one with Derrick Brown. It's very rare when you see a defensive lineman with double-digit tackles. That means he was basically a black hole towards the run. But the Falcons still did run for 167 yards, mostly because they were able to get the ball outside, got a couple of big runs from Huntley, and then late in the game from Mariota on that 30-yarder in overtime to help set up that game-winning field goal. That was the key play from Mariota. And so if you can't do it with your arm, Jarvis, hey man, do it with your legs. It's probably your best trait right now at this point in time in terms of what he can do for this offense. So man, crazy game. We've only covered like half of it, like the tip of the iceberg.
Right, yeah, we're just scratching the surface on this game, because there's just so many things that just you have to look at when you're talking about this game. Because even when you mentioned earlier about the special teams, the Falcons have a top 5 special teams unit, and for them to have a game like they did now, mind you, Younghoe Koo still did his thing. Don't get me wrong, but just from a coverage standpoint and how the Panthers were consistently able to get yardage on their punt returns and stuff like that. It was a punt return, a barn burner type wrestling match today between Pinion. Oh my God, it was just a sight to see. But at the end of the day, though, Aaron, this is quintessential Falcons, right? Like, obviously, our blood pressure and our hearts can't take this stuff. But one thing you can guarantee the Falcons are an Arthur Smith coach team. Them motherfuckers gonna fight to the end, man, and that's all you can ask for given what they're faced with, coming into the season with the dead salary cap bread and having a bunch of guys on this team with 1 year deals, 1 year proof deals.
Yeah. The Falcons made the plays that could have lost them the game, and they also made the plays that could have won them the game. As you said, quintessential Falcons type game for them. Guys, we will have you covered all week long here on Locked On Falcons. Myself, Jarvis, as well as Mark, Tanitra, and John all week long on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Get coverage of the big Georgia win, what's going on with the Hawks all week long. Of course, subscribe to all the shows here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, Locked On Braves, Locked On Falcons, Locked On Hawks, Locked On Bulldogs, and Locked On Sports Atlanta, wherever you get your podcast. That is what's going to do it for us here. Still only, again, scratching the surface for what's going on in this game. So make sure you tune in to both Locked On Falcons and Locked On Sports Atlanta to get the full lowdown of all the craziness that happened on Sunday. But the Falcons walk away with a win, 37-34, overtime. Younghoe Koo in the clutch. Marcus Mariota up, down, everybody up, down.
Everybody.
We rode the roller coaster, right? The Mariota coaster is the most exciting ride. You want to get off halfway on the ride. You just want to get like, let me off this thing. And then at the end, you're like, that wasn't so bad.
Like 30 yards, get a field goal range, man. Hey, man, I'll take that. I got that, get a defibrillator, at some point during the game. But it is what it is, Jack.
All right, guys. That's it for us today here on the Locked On Falcons postcast here on Locked